Am I the only one who feels like we were just watching the 2021 Olympic trials, or am I going crazy? I think this last cycle went super fast. That might have something to do with it being 3 years instead of the usual four, but I think that all played a factor in keeping some guys from retiring, but we'll get into all that in a little bit. For now, let's be excited for one of the best wrestling tournaments of the year, maybe in 4 years, taking place in State College, Pennsylvania. The one and only Olympic trials to have the opportunity to represent your country at the Olympics, and that country is the US of A. In this video, we'll be covering some amazing potential matchups based on the newish release seeds that have changed twice already since they came out, so bear with me if anything changes after recording this. We'll also talk some of the great storylines heading in, and so much more. If that sounds interesting to you, be sure to strap in and hit that subscribe button as we detail the 6 men's freestyle Olympic weight classes and make our TrueTan wild, educated guesses on who's going to Paris and who's staying home. Also, before we talk 57 kilograms and the rest of the men's freestyle field, which I'm sure you're all racing to get to, if you want more action besides the freestyle, I think Greco 77 kilograms should be pretty amazing, with guys like Kamal Bey and Benji Peak battling out for the spot. They're both very good in their craft and very talkative Greco guys, so I think there should be a lot of buzz around it on top of all their talent. Also, on the women's side of things, there's a ton of things I want to talk about, but I think the star of the show is probably going to be young phenom Amit Elor. So be on the lookout for her on top of all the ladies at 76 kilograms, because that's going to be a gauntlet of a weight. Plus, you really can't go wrong with Helen Maroulis. To start us off, I think every weight is super interesting. So I won't say this weight is super interesting, but this weight is for sure fun. Of course, Vito Arujau announced the other week 57 kilograms was not in the cards anymore, which was really sad to see, but I'm happy to see him get healthy and hopefully win another world title for USA at 61 kilograms. To get some early first round matches out of the way, I think there's a lot of fun that's going to happen early on, like Luke Lillidahl versus DeShazer, which I'm pretty sure we already saw at Farrell, right? Yeah, we did see it at Farrell, and DeShazer lost to Lillidahl, so not really sure how he's see it ahead of him. Maybe they wrestled overseas and I missed that one, but the 8 and 9 are literally the exact same thing, so it doesn't really matter. Oddly enough though, I think Marcus Blaze, the high schooler, is set up really nicely in this bracket to at least make the semis. First off, I don't think Nick Suriano is even going to show up, so if he gets a bye to an early off the scale date and fix, I think that match is at least interesting. Maybe I'm giving the Ohio kid too much credit, but I can't unsee what I'm seeing these high schoolers do, so I'm moving on. However, I think when the chips settle, I think Saturday morning, best 2 out of 3 is going to be between Spencer Lee versus Thomas Gilman. I know Day and Fix beat Thomas Gilman the last time they wrestled, but that was all the way back in 2019, and Gilman has jumped levels since then. He did lose to Richards, and Spencer doesn't really have a ton of data, but I think he's here, and he's here to stay. So I really hope he lives up to the hype. Plus, people have been asking for Gilman versus Spencer since, well, Spencer got to college, and if you really want to go back, people have been asking for Fix versus Spencer versus Suriano to all be in the same bracket since like 2013, so I really hope they all show up here. I think 65 kilograms is one of the craziest weights here, with honestly some matchups I never thought I'd see in my life. For example, Seth Gross versus Alex Pantelio. During their college career peaks, Gross was a 133 and Pantelio was a 157. I think of my wrestlers now on the current team I coach at, and seeing a 133 go up against a 157 competitively is just really wild to me. 65 and 57 kilograms I think would be the biggest beneficiaries of the weight changes or additions to Olympic weight classes that everyone has been talking about, which on that topic real quick, I'm pretty middle of the road with it. From the fan perspective, I think adding more weights would still get some crazy wild matchups. Plus, it'd just be more wrestling because there's more weight classes. At the very least, I think they should at least recalibrate them if we're going to stay at 6. It's still pretty hard to get those consistent, but I just feel like every year, especially at 57 kilograms and 65 kilograms, there's guys like Vito Arujau, Zane Rutherford, James Green, or Alex Pantaleo that just can't wrestle at their true form. But at the end of the day, no matter which weights you shift around, there's going to be someone that normally performs at a high level that's just going to have to shift around. I really think the 10 weight system's the best, but again, they have to be recalibrated in my mind. In the early round matchups, I think Mendez versus McKenna is super interesting, with the winner getting James Green, who McKenna handled pretty easily at the last Olympic trials. Very curious to see how James Green will perform at 65 kilograms for the third time's the charm trick. He's never really been able to handle or master the 65 kilogram cut, so he's just another example of where the weights really hurt one of our best athletes. At the end of the day, I really think 65 kilograms is just a transitive property mess. I could honestly see Mendez at the 11 seed winning this weight. It's that open to me. I really think if it goes chalk with Yanni versus Nick Lee, I'll probably go Nick Lee since he just seems to have Yanni's number. There's also Zane Rutherford staying out to the semis, and he'll have a lot of time to refuel. But again, the last time he made 65 kilograms, it just wasn't good. If you take McKenna at his best, he has wins against the best guys on his side of the bracket, so it really could be his year. Oddly enough though, I don't know who to pick, but if I have to go with anyone, I'm going with Andrew Alirez, which I really don't think is that crazy in many people's eyes. This dude is just a freestyle wizard. I know he doesn't have a lot of recent data behind him. He's beaten some guys that are seated very high in this field, but 65 kilograms is always nuts, so I don't think it's that bad of a pick. You know, I had a lot, and I mean a lot, typed out for 74 kilograms. And we'll get into some of the juice, but honestly, I really don't have much to say since Keegan O'Toole dropped out of the bracket, which might seem super odd considering all the other high contenders in this field. But I thought there was going to be a lot of fire early round matchups, but now with everyone from the 4 seed down moving up, it's not as fun early on. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be some awesome matches, but it just kind of twisted it up a little. With all that said, I'll keep it simple. I'm excited to see Monday and Messenbrink compete against some of these veterans, along with seeing some of the youngest stars in the freestyle game. But at the end of the day, I think Nolf has the best chance to beat Jordan Burroughs in the challenge bracket, but I think Burroughs has the best and only chance to take it all at 74 kilograms and beat Kyle Dake. Who do I think is going to win? Now, that's honestly a tough one. On one hand, I love them both, and I think they are and will always be great for the sport. Part of me thinks Kyle Dake will just do better at the Olympics. And the other half really wants to see Jordan take his shoes off on top of it all in Paris. So this is really a coin flip matchup for me. How about y'all let me know what you think in the comment section below, I guess. One thing I will say though is we've never really seen this scenario reversed. And what I mean is normally Jordan Burroughs has been sitting out and Kyle Dake had to go through the tournament to face him. Now we have an older than usual Jordan Burroughs going through a bigger than usual Olympic trials bracket to get to Kyle Dake, who's sitting out the whole first day. Not sure how that's going to play a factor with Jordan Burroughs, but I'm sure it's not going to help. I think this weight is the David Taylor show, and let's see if someone can take him out. I personally think David Taylor is one of the best wrestlers ever, and he will always be on that list for me. However, I think more than just Aaron Brooks can make it interesting with him. For starters, Zahid Valencia is not a done deal to lose to Aaron Brooks in my opinion. Their match at the Open last year was super competitive until Zahid looked like he hit a wall. Plus, Zahid will be the most fresh with a bye to the semis. Marster and Hidley are also super dangerous, and oh snap, I totally forgot to mention this. How about Carter Staraki bumping up to 86 kilograms, totally shattering the 74 kilogram storyline with him? But if anything, I really love his draw so far. I think the Downey matchup round 1 is kind of interesting for him, if it even happens. And then the Hidlay matchup is for sure winnable for Kara Staraki. And then the same could be true for the Marsteller match, even though Staraki doesn't really have a great record against him in freestyle. I will say Marsteller is a master of game planning, so I can't count him out either. I know Derringer hasn't been able to get it done the past couple years, but even he's kind of a dark horse here, which is crazy to say and really shows how deep this challenge tournament is. Overall though, I really don't know how you pick against David Taylor. He's been getting better over the past year, and the same could be true for his competition, but gotta go with DT on this one. I know I have said this a lot this video, but for this weight, I truly mean it. 97 kilograms is the Jaden Cox versus Kyle Snyder show. Trumbull really tested Cox, and Colin Moore versus Nate Jackson is an interesting quarter, with the winner getting Jaden Cox, and I know Jackson's beat Cox before, but I'm not going another year without seeing Cox versus Snyder in an actual qualifying event, so it's happening, and it's going to be an awesome best 2 out of 3 series. For this weight though, I'm sticking with Kyle Snyder to win it, but honestly, at the end of the day, whoever makes it out for us will have success on the Olympic stage in my opinion. As cool as it would be to see Gable Steveson in the field, I think the winner of this weight will be a great contender for us at the Olympics. Mason Paris is sitting in the finals after winning bronze last year for USA. Now, who will face him? That is where it kind of gets interesting. I also think whoever comes out of the bottom between Kirklevitt and Gwizdowski is probably going to win the challenge tournament. I don't know why, maybe it's all the buzz on Penn State right now, but I think Kirklevitt is going to the finals to face off against Paris one more time. I think Zilmer is tough too, but that's my feeling on this. And let me know what your feelings are in the comment section below on it. Also, before we wrap this up, I'm going with Paris at 125 kilograms, and he's won the Olympic gold in Paris because that would be legendary. It'd be Paris winning Paris, like, that's just cool. Might be a bad way to decide a Olympic trials pick or an Olympic winner, but that's what I'm going with. Now, with all that said, if I missed anything from the early rounds to my predictions, which I'm sure I did, let me know in the comment section below and we could talk about it. And maybe I'll even talk about it in my Olympic trials recap video. But for real, leave a comment with anything you like. Speaking of things you like, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you aren't already, hit that subscribe button. I literally cannot wait for this tournament to start, and I'm sure I'm not alone on that. We're going to have great storylines, great matchups, and above all, amazing wrestling. Now, with all that said, enjoy Olympic trials everybody, and take care.